Well, hey there, and thanks so much for joining me. My name is Jeremiah, and we're going to be looking and walking through 5 questions to ask for increased ministry effectiveness. I mean, the reality is that we all want to be effective. None of us got into this to say, "Oh, I hope I'm not effective," right? We all want to increase our effectiveness, and so you're here around this table today because you, as a team, you want to be more effective. You want to create spaces for things to happen, and you want to look at what you're currently doing and say, okay, how can we increase and do this even better? So by now, hopefully you've worked as a team through all of the questions, the diagnostic questions, and have really had some discussions on where are we at. It's important for you to understand your reality before you can even embrace these 5 questions to ask. So you got to look at yourself honestly, look at all the data, look at where you're at, have an honest discussion about where we're at and what our reality is before we can move forward. So if you haven't done that yet, I'm going to give you time to answer those questions and to do that now. Okay, so now we're going to get to the first question to ask about ministry effectiveness. And the first question is this: why do we exist? Why are we here? And this really is the mission question. This is going to help us to understand our mission as an organization. So why are we here? Why? And you might have to go back to, the reasons why you were formed, but you need to go back to the whole idea of why are we even here? Why do we exist? And I want you to be honest with this question because, when I work with some churches, it's like, we're here so that we can have a place that's open so that people can come. And like, is that an effective mission? I would say not. And, I've seen some nonprofit, kind of say, well, we're here because, we're keeping the lights on and we got to keep people paid. And is that an effective mission? No. Like, a mission needs to move you. A mission needs to be like, I will give my life to this. I am here. I'm a part of this organization because it matters to me what we're all about. And so that mission statement, I mean, that needs to be something that the purpose of why we're here. Now, if you're in a church, which a lot of people watching this are part of church organizations, I believe that our mission was already given to us by Jesus Christ to say, go and make disciples. He's already told us, why we're here, why we're still around. And we often phrase it this way: when you got saved, why didn't you just get sucked up into heaven? Like, why are we still here? What is the one thing that we can do here that we can't do in heaven? We can pray here, we can pray in heaven. We can sing here, we can sing in heaven. We can fellowship here, we can fellowship in heaven. What's the one thing we can't do in heaven that we can only do here? That's evangelize. We need to make disciples. We need to get out there as a church and say, where are people coming to faith in the life of this church? And if it's not happening, that should really drive us and say, okay, take everything else away. Take the potlucks away, take the activities away, take everything else away. Why are we here? And that's the question that you need to wrestle with now. Why are you here? And this will help you determine your mission. All right. Now, the next question I want us to look at is, who are we called to reach? And by answering this question, it's going to lead us to our vision, okay? Because what we're going to do is say, well, there's a lot of good things out there, right? With the same mission. If our mission is to make disciples who make disciples, there's a lot of good churches out there who kind of have the same mission. I mean, let's face it, right? But why do churches look so different? Or why do organizations look so different? It's because that they understand who they're called to reach, and they're called to reach different people. Now, I know a lot of us say, well, we're called to reach everyone. Let me just settle this for you. When everyone is your target, nobody is your target, okay? And so you as an organization need to get very clear, who are we called to reach? Now, what you got to understand about targeting is that it's not just, okay, these are the only people and everybody, we kick them out. Okay, no. That's not what it's about. But it's kind of looking at who you're called to reach and start from there as your bullseye. And then from there, other people you're going to reach, absolutely. But all your decision-making process, everything that you do, your behaviors, what you do as an organization, you're aiming it at that bullseye. And you're going to hit other things, absolutely, and that's going to be great. But you're laser focused, and the more laser focused you get on who you're trying to reach, what your vision is, the more effective that you'll become. A lot of organizations, they kind of act like Charlie Brown. You know, they shoot the arrow and then they walk up to it and then they draw the target around the arrow so that they never miss. And again, what I want to encourage you, want to challenge you to do is really wrestle with this. Who are we called to reach? And you do that by looking at where you are. So what demographic, where are you right now in your community, where your organization is located, where your church is situated? Where are we? Who are we? What kinds of people are we right now? So, if you're a group of seniors, to say, well, we're called to reach teenagers, that might be a little far-fetched, right? And so you want to look at, not only where are we, but who are we? I was working with a group of young adults who were reaching to their demographic location, but their demographic location, the majority of the people were 60 plus. And so what I'm challenging them to do is, no, look at who you are. Who is currently a part of your organization, and who will they invite and connect with and invite their friends to? So answering that question on who are we called to reach will help you determine your vision. Your mission is why you exist, but your vision is what does that look like here? And what's really important is that you understand is that your vision is to reach a certain group of people. Focus on that. Who are you called to reach? Let's answer those questions now. Okay, so now we're looking at this next question, which is what behaviors do we want to see in our organization? What behaviors do we want to see? And this really leads us to our values. So do we want to see people who are super generous, who are giving, who are kind, who are caring? Do we want to see people who are passionate about the people who aren't yet here? Do we want to see people who laugh together and love one another and accept one another as who they are? If the answers to those questions are yes, this is what's going to drive your values. And so what we often see in organizations is something that we call culture, is that you can feel what the organization values just by who you interact with, by the people that work there, what their demeanor is, what their behaviors are. And this is like this kind of sub thing that you can't even really see. It's not on the wall somewhere. It's just who we are. And who is a part of this organization. Because once you really get bought in to this church, or once you really get bought into this organization, these are the values that you express. And guess what? When you're interviewing here or when you're thinking about coming and you find that you don't align with those values, that you don't really care about those behaviors, this probably isn't the place for you. So if you don't believe in excessive generosity, this probably isn't the place for you. If you don't really want to do whatever it takes to reach people who aren't yet here, this probably isn't the place for you. So beyond the why we're here, beyond the who we're called to reach in the vision, now we move to this idea of, well, what kinds of people, what behaviors do we want to see in the people that totally buy in and represent this organization? So I'm not talking about the behaviors of the people you're trying to reach, because they're not yet a part of the organization. But once they become part of the organization or the church or whatever it is, that they begin to exhibit these behaviors. Well, that is the values, okay, that begin to drive the organization. So I don't want you to come up with 15 or 25. I want you to come up with 5 to 7 behaviors. What are the things that you want to see as a part of the main core of the church? And these will translate into the values of the organization. So get started on that now. Okay, so now we're going to move into this next question. Question 4 is, what ministries or organizational activities do we need to stop? Do we need to start? Or do we need to tweak so that we can achieve the mission and vision? So this is all a part of the ministry strategies now. And so now we start to look at every aspect of the organization, what we do, right? So for our camps, we run these camps. We do this leadership training. For our church, we do Sunday morning. We do board. We do worship. We do potlucks. But you're looking at every activity, every ministry that you do, and you're asking this question. Okay, so if this is our why, and if this is our what, okay? And this is what we're focused on. Now let's look at what we do. And as we look at what we do, let's ask ourselves, okay, is there anything that we need to stop? Let's face it. There are some things that we do we don't need to do. There are some meetings that we don't need to have. There are some staff that we have that we don't need to have. There are some things that we do that we can stop, and we should. And these are hard, I understand. These are hard things to think through, but you're part of the leadership team, and you're sitting down here to be effective, right? So, so I'm walking you through this now, okay? And so I want you to think about, okay, what do we need to stop? Now, there's going to be some things you need to start. There are some things that you're not even doing that could be very, very effective in reaching the people that God's called you to reach, and you haven't even started them yet. Maybe they're an idea, maybe it was something that someone suggested, and you just haven't even started it. I want you to write those things down. What do we need to start that's going to help us to achieve that goal? You know, some of our churches, one of the things that they want to do is reach a generation, and they recently realized, hey, we need to get online. We need to get more into that virtual, that digital space. Up until then, they haven't been there. Okay. Now, I understand that starting something is daunting, and you want to make sure that, you know, you've got your ducks in a row, and you've done your research, whatever, but it starts with you at least just saying, hey, we got to start this. And what I would suggest with most organizations is that they spend most of their time aim, and they never pull the trigger. And what I would encourage you to do is to pull the trigger on something in the next 30 days. So if you decide in this session, we need to start something here, be ready to start it in 30 days, okay? Don't wait for a year, don't wait for 2 months. Get it going now. Not all of the ones you have to start, but pick one thing that you're going to start. And if you can start 2, then do that. But have a propensity to action as an organization rather than wait. You know, you might fail. You might try something and you realize, oh, that's probably not we started that right, but we probably could have done that better. Okay. Well, then tweak it, you know, but start something. And finally, what do you need to modify? What do you need to change? There's a lot of things that we do that, you know, are good things. And what we need to do is look at them and say, okay, how can we shift and change them so that they achieve the mission and the vision? And so, you know, I'm working with boards a lot, and one of the things that I challenge boards to do in churches is to say, okay, as a board, because we want to make disciples, because we want to reach lost people who are far from God, right? Those are the why and the what. We are going to commit as a board to share our faith once a quarter and invite someone to church once a quarter. That's going to be one of the stipulations for being on the board. You see, it was up until then, it wasn't. You could be on the board and never share your faith and never invite someone to church. You know, some did, but many didn't. And so we challenged the boards. Hey, maybe that's going to be your thing. And I remember one board member said, I will not share my faith. I will not invite anyone to my church. And I thought, well, then you shouldn't be on this board because this is our mission and our vision. And so when you take a ministry and you begin to tweak it, not everyone's going to want to go with you. When you take a function that you do and say, okay, you know, in order to achieve this goal, we're going to have to make these modifications. Not everyone's going to go with you, but many will. And some will join you because they'll be like, well, that's what I want to do. And what I would suggest to you is a lot of our stuff that we do, it just needs a 2-degree shift. If we want to be, you know, particularly a church that reaches lost people, we're making a 2-degree shift to that end. And it's not crazy, but we're starting to think about how do people hear about us? What are we actually saying to them? What does that presentation look like, ministry look like? And we're starting to think with them in mind. Again, going back to the vision of who we're called to reach, we begin to adjust what we do in order to reach those people who aren't yet here, if that makes sense to you. So get started on this discussion. This is going to be a little longer, but I want you to go through the list of your ministries, and I want you to basically say, okay, who is this thing for? Right? Who is it for? Is it for us? Is it for the people we're trying to reach? Right? And what is it trying to do? Right? Is it trying to actually reach them, or is it just edifying us? And once you kind of go through that, start to say, okay, what area can we tweak and change so that it accomplishes and helps us to achieve that mission and that vision? Does that make sense? So you can work that out now. Take some time to do that. All right, so last question. We're talking about ministry effectiveness. You're working through, you know, why are we here? Who are we called to reach? What behaviors do we want to see? What ministries need to be changed? Now we're going to look at the final one, which is our strategy question, which is basically what are the gaps that we're seeing between where we are and where we want to be. When we started this whole process today, I had you look at the realities. I had you answer some questions that hopefully were sobering. Hopefully they showed you your reality. And again, facts are your friends. Looking at this with sober understanding is a good thing. It's not an easy thing, but it's a good thing. And now I want you to look at all the discussion that you've had about where you could be, what you'd like to do, who you're called to reach, all of that, and then look at them and say, okay, what are the gaps that we have? And you should be able to, at this juncture, identify about 3 gaps, if not more, of where you are and where you want to be. A simple one is, well, we want to be reaching lost people, and we want to see people come to Christ. So far, in the last 2 years, we haven't seen anybody come to Christ, or we've seen 1 or 2 come to Christ. Well, there's a gap, right? And once you identify where you are and where you want to be, now you can begin to see the pathway forward about, okay, so how do we go from here to here? Now, it's important to understand that you're not going to jump that, okay? You're not going to go from here to here by tomorrow. Just because you had this, half a day discussion or day-long discussion today in the boardroom doesn't mean you're going to be achieving this, coming in the next few days. No, it's going to take you a while. So what you need to do is formulate the strategy to get there. Now, the thing about this is it's going to require you to change things. You are where you are because everything that you're currently doing is designed to get the results you're getting. Okay? So your reality is coming not because you're bad people or not because, God doesn't like you. It's because all the activities so far, you're getting the results that you're getting. And so in order to close this gap, to move from here to here, you're going to have to change things. And that's going to be hard. And you need to get good at navigating change and managing change. Not everybody likes to change. But in order to move from here to here, you're going to be thinking through, how do I get there and what needs to change in order to get there. You also need to be thinking about who do we need to get, personnel-wise, people-wise, on the bus to help us get there. And who do we need to get off the bus to help us get there? Again, part of the reason why you're here is because there are human resources, people involved, that either are not there yet to help you achieve that goal, or that are there that are hindering that goal. They're getting in the way. They're repelling people, or they're not discipling or training people, or whatever it is. And I mean, this. We are all the lids to our own organization, and so this is a hard question to ask. But if we want to get from here to here, we need to start thinking about, who do we need to get, as a part of this team to help with this particular area, and who might be standing in the way. And so then after that, you begin to move forward and create identifiable steps and goals to see yourself come to this end. So go back to the salvation goal that I talked about. So let's decide, okay, we haven't seen anyone come to Christ. We want to see people come to Christ. Okay, so in the next year, we want to see 5 people come to Christ. Okay, so let's set that goal. So now we're setting a goal to here. Now let's say at the end of the year, we see 4 people come to Christ and not 5. Well, guess what? Are we going to be disappointed? No, we're not. We're going to be pretty happy that we saw 4 people come to Christ. So then we set another goal, right? And we begin to keep moving ourselves because what we're trying to do is close that gap. So I'm not saying you're going to be able to do that in this discussion, but what I want you to do right now is look at 3 or 4 gaps, where you are and where you want to be. And then what we're going to do after this session, not in this session, but after we're done, we'll all come alongside you and begin to coach you down that road. Because, listen, in all of this stuff, and I'll close with this, in all of this stuff, I want to see you be effective. I want to see you be effective in what you do. Again, none of us get into this to be ineffective. We all want to be effective. And I want to particularly see you in the Christian realm to do what Jesus asked us to do, to make disciples who make disciples. I'll stake everything I have on that because I believe that following Jesus is the best decision that anyone could ever make. And I want to see more people become followers of Jesus Christ. So I'm with you. I support you. Take the time now to look at these gaps, and then I'll come in person or on the phone to chat with you more about how we can take those steps to close those gaps. Are you ready? Thanks for sticking in with me. This is the last discussion question, and then you guys can close on your own. God bless you. Thank you for joining me.